Ever wonder how a neighborhood protector becomes the biggest thief on the block? What if her fancy HOA office was illegally sitting in your backyard the whole time? And how satisfying is it when one quiet guy's patience turns her $8,500 shakedown into total ruin? It was the kind of Saturday morning that made retirement in Evergreen Meadows, California, feel like a dream. Sunny, silent except for birds chirping, the kind of quiet retirees fight tooth and nail to keep. I was Nate Brooks, 58, ex-state transportation planner who'd spent decades navigating red tape only to escape it for a simple life. My vegetable garden out back, a privacy fence that actually blocked nosy eyes, and a house painted the exact neutral beige the Covenants supposedly loved. No drama, just coffee steaming on the porch and my laptop open to old city maps out of habit. Then the car doors slammed like a judge's gavel. I peeked through the blinds and saw her coming. Karen Vickers, president of the Evergreen Meadows HOA, blonde hair, helmet sprayed into perfection, navy suit crisp enough to cut glass, pearls gleaming like metal she awarded herself. Trailing her were two clipboard zombies and a guy in a uniform that screamed costume party cop. The doorbell rang twice, extra dramatic. I opened up with my best poker face. "Morning, folks." Karen flashed that smile, sweet as saccharin but with the undertone of a shark-smelling blood. "Mr. Karen Vickers, president of the Evergreen Meadows Homeowners Association. We've received complaints, multiple ones, about your property. Your vegetable garden is an aesthetic violation. The house color clashes with community standards, and that fence? 2 inches over the approved height. For the good of property values and neighborhood harmony, you need to fix it all. Total cost to comply, $8,500. She thrust the folder like she was handing me a death sentence, complete with theatrical wrist flick. The officer stared at his shoes. Her minions nodded in perfect sync, like they'd rehearsed in the mirror. I flipped through the papers. The county seal looked pixelated, the letterhead too shiny for real government, and that badge? Plastic gleamed straight from a Halloween aisle. I kept my voice calm, the retired bureaucrat special. "Officer, mind walking me through the exact statutes here? I like to understand before I sign anything," he stammered. "Just delivering paperwork, sir." Karen's Botox-tight smile twitched for half a second. "Due diligence is wise, Mr. Brooks. We'll circle back Monday if necessary." They backed away like they just realized the ground might not be theirs. As their taillights disappeared, I was already on the phone to city planning. The clerk didn't even let me finish. "Violations issued, and that so-called officer? Not on our roster. Sounds like someone's running a bad community theater scam." Karen had tried a full daylight grift. Forged docs, rented cop, the works. Wrapped in that holy community standards gospel HOs love to preach while they trample actual laws. But here's the thing about poking a snake dressed as a pearl-wearing saint. She strikes back twice as hard and twice as ridiculous. Monday brought the real circus. Up. Tape measure swinging like a weapon. "Anonymous complaint about your shed," he grunted, slapping a red tag on my door. "Permit verification required in 10 business days." Everything by the book, except the book was now being used to smack me. My shed was fine. This was payback, pure HOS spite. Tuesday morning, a landscaping crew rolled in uninvited, chainsaws whining as they hacked my hedges to the roots. The supervisor shoved a card at me, stone-faced. "Orders from the office. Questions go through them." My garden looked like it survived a war zone. $300 in plants gone, privacy shredded for the whole street to gawk at. It wasn't maintenance, it was a message. "Cross us, we expose you." By Wednesday, the legal whack-a-mole started. Process servers at my old office, embarrassing as hell, papers fluttering everywhere. Liens threatened in my mailbox. Lit up with anonymous posts. "That Brooks guy's jungle yard is tanking all our property values. Kids are scared to walk past." Neighbors started crossing the street like I carried the plague. Karen wasn't enforcing rules anymore. She was running a full intimidation playbook, all while smiling at board meetings about protecting our beautiful community. I stayed silent on the outside. No yelling, no Facebook rants. Inside, I was logging every move with new security cameras timestamped sharp as knives. My lawyer, James Sullivan, knew the drill. "They want you broke, exhausted, or gone," he said over the phone. Classic HOA squeeze play. So I dug deeper. City surveys, 1987 plat maps, old HOA filings. That's when the ground cracked open under Karen's designer heels. The maps didn't lie. Side Evergreen Meadows HOA boundaries. A sneaky development era error nobody had fixed. Worse, Karen's precious community office, the playground every parent bragged about, the storm drains they claimed kept us safe. All built smack in the middle of my backyard. No permits, no easements, nothing. She was ruling an empire that literally sat on land she didn't own, while fining me for tomato plants. You ever see someone so drunk on power they forget to check whose dirt they're standing on? Turns out Karen's legal expertise came from a law license yanked years ago for shady dealings. Board never bothered to Google her. She'd used it to spin endless paper trails, fake ordinances, nuisance reports that kept everyone chasing ghosts. My forensic accountant buddy uncovered the cherry on top. $35,000 missing from reserves, $75,000 funneled to her own consulting firm, plus stacks of unpaid bills the management company was sick of carrying. They were ready to dump the debt for pennies. That's when I realized I didn't have to fight her game. I could buy the whole damn table. I wired $25,000 to Greenleaf Management that same afternoon. Just like that, I became the HOA's biggest creditor, the guy who now owned the note on their illegal office, their playground, the whole sinking ship they'd anchored on my property. Karen's little kingdom? Mine to audit. The next weeks were almost poetic in their twisted satisfaction. I filed EPA complaints about the unpermitted septic hookup under their office, illegal drainage turning my backyard into a potential hazard. County inspectors swarmed like bees to honey, tagging violation after violation. No permits, no environmental review, structures that should never have existed. I sued Karen and the board personally, trespass, fraud, harassment, demanding over $1 million in damages. Every certified letter a quiet nail in her coffin. Meanwhile, the residents started waking up. The Facebook group that once smeared me now buzzed with questions. Why is our playground suddenly red-tagged? Where did the reserve money really go? One board member resigned in a teary email about losing the spirit of community. Another turned on Karen in a leaked text chain, terrified of the avalanche. Parents demanded answers about water safety and kids' safety. Funny how community harmony crumbles when the playground might be poisoning the sandbox. Karen tried slapping on a special assessment to cover her mounting legal fees. The backlash was glorious. Angry lawn signs popping up overnight. Neighbors who once nodded at her now avoiding her like she carried the HOA plague. Then came the big day, the emergency county hearing. The room was packed tighter than a Black Friday sale. Media cameras rolling, tension thick enough to choke on. Karen strutted in with her hired gun lawyer, and a folder fat with smoke and mirrors. She took the podium first, voice honey-dripped and trembling just enough for sympathy. For decades I've protected this community's standards, our property values, our children's futures. This is nothing but a vendetta from one disgruntled neighbor trying to destroy what we built together. The room murmured in agreement, until it was my turn. I stood quiet, direct, no theatrics. I laid out the deeds, the 1987 plat maps, time-stamped photos of every harassment, bank records glowing on the projector. My engineer friend walked the board through the overlays. $750,000 in unpermitted infrastructure sitting on my land, 0 easements, 0 approvals. Then the clincher. I announced I now held every penny of the HOA's debt. The gasp that rippled through the crowd was pure music. EPA violations dropped like hammers. Facilities had to shut down pending cleanup. My lawyer detailed the embezzlement chapter and verse. Karen's legal team begged for a delay. In the silence that followed, I finally said what had been burning since day one. You can't build your little empire, your rules, your power, your playground, on someone else's land with someone else's money and expect it to stand. The judge dropped the hammer. Operation suspended. Criminal charges against Karen for fraud and embezzlement. By sunset she was escorted out in cuffs, stripped of her title, her reputation in tatters, her finances circling the drain. Chaos followed, sure. Playground, their dues, their kids. I called a town hall the next week, same room, different energy. Some were angry, some scared, some just done. I laid it out straight. Legal leases for the community areas, environmental cleanup on my dime, but with their input, new transparent management, mandatory audits. Over 6 months we rebuilt from the ground up, literally. Property values dipped, then soared higher than before once everyone realized the nightmare of fake rules and stolen land was over. Karen pleaded guilty, lost her license for good this time, sold her house at a loss, and slunk out of state. Her downfall became the neighborhood warning label. Don't mess with people's homes, don't lie about standards, and definitely don't steal what isn't yours. Looking back, the real lesson here is brutally simple. Justice isn't loud revenge. It's quiet patience armed with deeds, dates, and a single smart wire transfer. Never underestimate the neighbor who stays silent while you dig your own grave with ridiculous rules. Check your property lines tonight, folks, before your HOA Karen decides your backyard is her throne.